Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel. Russ Fisher at Dynasty Outhouse, Addison Hayes at AmazeHayes _ We are here in just about July, getting closer and closer to things that will start mattering. And I am so ready for that because we are like, there's straws up there. We're grasping. We're grasping. Like, we have no idea what's going on. We're trying. So as we've done with the past few shows, we went back. Well, I always try and make it seem like I do stuff for this show. Addison went back a year to see what we talked about a year ago from, when there was still nothing happening. And one of the things on that list was just players we feel like are good to go out and try and trade for, and players that are good to try and go trade away. And it looks like, now that I'm looking at the show sheet for the first time, like I said, I do nothing for this show except show up. Looks like we're doing players to go trade for right now.
Yes.
And this first one is right at I'm trying to point to the heart of the man next to me. Not necessarily the player himself, but the team. We are going to talk about Najee Harris, because a little bit of a Steelers guy over here.
Yeah, that's what that football is right there. It's a Steelers football.
I mean, it's super blurry because it's in the background, but like I could see that those are yellow letters. No, yeah. There it is. I can see. Yep. That good camera you got focuses so fast right on you. I love that's classy. I like it. You're getting high-end RB2, low-end RB1 numbers. And again, he was hurt, his offensive line was hurt, and the offense was just complete and utter trash. We have a full year. We have Kenny Pickett has some starting experience. Crossing your fingers, he gets a little bit better. The offensive line getting healthy, having the ability to mesh together. They drafted some offensive players to make their offense a little better. They didn't bring in any competition for Najee Harris. So I think this is a good time to go get Najee. The problem with him is his age. He came in at like 23 and change. So he's hitting that age already where people are going to start being less interested, which might work in your favor right now. I guess let's go see what the trades look like to go get him. But like, I still think he's a guy that this year, probably next year, are going to be very helpful for your fantasy teams.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. I was about to say, do you agree before we keep going? And then, I appreciate the quick yups right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first trade we have is 12-team, 1 quarterback, where Najee Harris got traded for Dameon Pierce, the 111 and a 24 second. Dameon Pierce coming in at 245, the 111, 155, and a 24 second at 85 for a total, 84, for a total of 484. Najee by himself, 404. So this is a pretty good trade. We have a 3-for-1. It's buy a 24 second. That extra piece is the overpay, which you should be doing when you're 3-for-1ing for sure. Dameon Pierce is such an iffy thing for me. Like, he's okay as a running back, but they didn't bring anyone really in. Devin Singletary. I know you did this to me last week, but like, I'm not super worried about that. Like,
sure.
But putting that all together with Dameon Pierce being okay, there's a little bit of competition. The 111 in a 1 quarterback league, you're already talking in the Mingo, Rashee Rice area, where it's like, you like the player, you like the situation a little bit, but clearly not everything's meshing perfectly. Otherwise, he'd be earlier than that. Mm-hmm. And a 24 second is just nice trade bait at this point. I would give up a lot of things that make me do this and shrug a little bit to go get Najee Harris. Like, I would do this probably pretty easily as a competing team. Like, if I earned that 111, I would throw that stuff in to upgrade from Pierce to Najee without really thinking about it. I'd be good with that.
Yep. Yeah, I 100% agree. I think Najee, we wanted him to be what he did in his rookie year with Ben Roethlisberger. Clearly, that's not going to happen because his receiving workload basically was cut in half. And I don't think it's ever going to get back up to where it was with Big Ben.
16 targets in one game. It ain't getting back.
Yeah. So, and then also, he had the injury and stuff at the beginning of the year, and he was kind of playing through it. And I feel like Najee right now, like you said, he's kind of at his floor for his dynasty value in terms of the production that you're going to get back from him, because I do think that he's going to be a 300 touch kind of guy. Honestly, he might be a 300 carry guy with an additional 30, 40 50 receptions, maybe, if he gets on the high end of that, because he is. I mean, Jalen Warren is really good, but the Steelers want just a workhorse running back. Warren's going to get mixed in every now and then, but Najee's going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy getting 18, 20 plus touches every single week. And he's going to be really, really good for fantasy. And if you look at his game log last year, there was a noticeable difference. It was actually right after the bye week. Their bye week was in week 9. So you have basically first half and second half cut right down the middle from the bye week. But after the bye week, weeks 10 through 18, there was a noticeable difference in Najee's usage, where he had 5 games over 20 carries. He didn't have any games over 20 carries in the first half of the season. He had a couple games actually where he had more than 5 targets. He had 6 targets in one game, 9 targets in another game. All of that second half was a 17-game pace of 1,500 total yards, almost 1,300 rushing, and a little over 200 receiving on 340 touches and another 13 touchdowns, total touchdowns. So that is the pace that Najee was on in the second half of the season after they made their bye week adjustments with Kenny Pickett. And I think that that's just how they're going to roll moving forward. They want Pickett to be more of a game manager, I think, and Najee's going to take a lot of the pressure off of him just by being able to run the ball 18, 20, 23 times a game. And that's going to be good for fantasy.
Yeah, week 10 on PPR points per game, RB10.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's yes. All right, so let's go to the next trade because it's a little bit more involved. There's all right, so this is a 49ers fan jumping ship. We have Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and a 24 first for Chris Godwin, Najee Harris, and Greg Dulcich. This is some respect on this trade. Like there's whew. So Deebo, I still don't understand. Like, I don't know if he's going to be on the show because it depends what trades come in. But Deebo is on my players to trade away if we do that next week. It's just, I don't get how is he at 503.5 still.
I don't think he is. Like I think his real world value is probably closer to like 350.
I was gonna say probably close to that 276 that Kittle is at.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, man. Okay, so Deebo 503.5, George Kittle 277, the 24 first to 47 for a total of 1027. Chris Godwin, I mean, the respect might be a little there at 414. Najee Harris 404, Greg Dulcich 77.9. So I paid a 24 first for Najee Harris and actually got it done. So that's a sizable difference between 247 and 404. But man, I feel like let's just cross off Deebo and Godwin because they're both what probably should be wide receiver, low 20s.
Yes.
So Kittle in a first for Najee and Dulcich. I don't know. What would you take in that?
I think at the end of the day, I would take the Najee side on this one. Just I really, really do like Chris Godwin. I mean, he's hanging up on my wall. And I'll just deal with the situation and just hope that Baker Mayfield just targets Godwin 140 times, and that's just enough to, out of pure volume, is just enough to keep him relevant and a good wide receiver too. Najee, I think, could be an RB1. Dulcich, I have hope for. I have confidence in that he could be one of the guys to take that next step. But we play that game with a lot of tight ends, and a lot of them don't do that. So it is kind of hard, but I do have some confidence in Dulcich. Deebo, I'm low on. Kittle is really, really nice. Honestly, I think you can make an argument that Kittle could be the best asset in this deal, even though like numerically he's not. But I feel like you could just be like, well, I'll just take the elite tight end and just call it a day.
That's what's really holding me back on this. Like, I got to be honest. Like, I've been so back and forth on Kittle the past few years, and I've decided that it's just like, no, Kittle is good. He's going to miss some games, and the problem with Kittle is the same thing that happened with him last year. The same thing that happened with Mark Andrews last year. They play through their injuries, and when they do, they don't play a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember last year when George Kittle was starting to get healthier, but the entire offensive line was hurt. he pretty much played as a 6th offensive lineman, and Ross Dwelly was out there running his routes, and I'm just like, oh my, why? Okay.
Flip that, Kyle.
Yeah. So, well, clearly Dwelly just can't block for the life of him. That's the weirdest thing. Like, it sucks to have a tight end who's a great receiver, but also very good at blocking because sometimes he'll just get screwed.
Yep.
I
don't think you can really choose the wrong side here. I
yeah,
think,
this is a good trade. Like,
yeah,
which leads me to think I just want the guy I really like, who I think is a top 3 at their position, and give me a first. Like, Dulcich, I do think will probably be one of those tight end 7 to 12s. But what does that really mean?
yeah.
Najee, again, yeah, he'll be top 10, probably won't be top 5 because there's too good running backs up top that I think will get in above him. And I do just look, Chris Godwin way over Debo for me based on talent and situation. But Kittle in the first really are just, they keep pulling me back. This is a really good trade, though. I really like this trade. Here's the thing with TJ Hockenson. He is currently, he's like tight end 4, I think it was. Yeah, he's tight end 4. But the reason I call him a trade 4 is because in one quarterback, his ADP is 48. And the players he's going around, I have to scroll. Hold on. Treylon Burks, Javonte Williams. I'm going to skip over Jordan Addison because I really like that guy. Terry McLaurin, Hollywood Brown, J.K. Dobbins. Like, those are good players, but you can get the tight end 4. Like, positional advantage absolutely matters. If there's the slightest bit of, like, hell, give me a 0.25 tight end premium, and I start doing a dance if TJ Hockenson is still around these players.
Yeah.
Like, so yes, tight end 4 makes complete and utter sense. That's probably where he should be, assuming we're still bolstering Pitts because of age. Because 1 through 3 is going to be some order of Kelsey, Andrews, Pitts, which is my order in the way I said it, I think. Even though I hate Andrews. I'm still mad at him. But regardless, like, the gap in between tight ends, well, Kelsey is tight end 3 is the most ridiculous thing in the world at pick 29, and then you have to go all the way down to, what did I say, 48 for Hockenson. Like, that's way, way, way too far away for me. So the first trade we have is 12-team 1 quarterback, where someone traded Javonte Williams for TJ Hockenson and the 203. 203 holding up 118 points in a 1 QB league. That's up there. And TJ Hockenson 356 for a total of 475, and Javonte 348. That picked on the wrong side, and even if it was on the other, I'm still taking Hockenson.
That was the main part of this, is where I wanted to read where you were, because this could easily be one of those trades where it's like, well, whatever side's the second on, I just want that side because both players are pretty even. So just take the free second round pick. But you would still do Javonte and the 203 for TJ Hockenson.
I would. Positional advantage, baby. It's real. It's there. I put Hockenson in, and I literally never think twice about it.
Yeah.
Javonte Williams, when? When's Javonte Williams going to be a thing? When was Javonte Williams a thing? How long was Javonte Williams a thing?
Lots of Javonte questions. Yeah, no, I think I agree with you. I think I would take Hawk over Javonte in the 203 in a 1 quarterback league.
Yes. Again, that's 4 or 5 pick difference between that and Superflex, depending on what Levis will go by then. Okay, so 4, because Hendon Hooker's not going before the 203. So it's a 4 pick difference. That's a slide, but even still, Hawkinson's worth it to me. And again, the slightest bit of premium, and it just makes me dance even more to go get Hockenson for this.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Next trade, 10-team 1 quarterback, Jameson Williams and the 301 for TJ Hockenson and the 403. Oh man, old team swap. What do you feel about Jameson? Let me start with that. Like, what are your thoughts on Jameson Williams right now? Completely ignoring the 6-game suspension, which is stupid, but because that shouldn't affect dynasty value whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Jameson is going to be a part of a future video that I have that I'm working on players that are climbing up my rankings.
Okay.
And it's not to say that I'm like, oh, Jameson Williams, top 15 dynasty. And it's just like
Boom.
he was like in my mid to low 30s, and now he's gonna be in like my back 20s. That's basically where but he's climbing up there because I think that there's an opportunity once he gets back in this Lions offense to and it's funny because like nothing's changed. Like that opportunity's been there this whole time. I just haven't seen it like with my own eyes until just recently. So I do think that Jameson Williams has a lot of potential and upside whenever he comes back. And again, that's nothing different than what we've already thought about him. But at the same time, I do think there are pitfalls in Williams's profile, his situation. Now this is like a year and a half basically that he hasn't played or really been a part of this Lions offense in a meaningful way, to where I feel good enough to just say, you know what, just give me the basically elite tight end and just call it a day. You know, you don't got to worry about any of the question marks on Jameson Williams. Even if he does hit, does that hit equate to top 12 or does that hit equate to, you know, like we're just kind of hoping that he's going to bump into the top 20. And even then, you know, I feel like you'd still be happy with just taking the positional advantage and just taking TJ Hockenson.
The only situation I regret giving away Jameson Williams for DJ Hockenson is if the Lions get a top 2 draft pick. That's literally it. If they walk into Caleb or May is the other one, because like you said, I agree. Jameson was talented. Jameson has a lot of upside. We haven't seen him healthy yet. 10 team means there's fewer teams, which means I would rather still have that elite onesie position player. Yeah, like give me TJ Hockenson every time on this. And again, the 301 for the 403, yes, it matters, but it doesn't matter enough for me to really think about it in this trade. So I think give me Hockenson. And if Williams turns into like the wide receiver 15, yeah, that would suck a little bit. But yeah, I have the TE4. That's fine.
Yeah. Boom.
Yeah. See, this last player is a good one because it also talks about what we talked about earlier and what we might be talking about next week in Debo being a bit of a sell. Brandon Aiyuk is a very good trade target. And actually, you know what? You put him on here. So why don't you talk about it, even though I'm hoping I'm about to say similar things because that would make me feel smart.
Yeah. So Aiyuk was my player on this one. And basically, and Justin put out a video saying that for hot takes for this year is that we are going to be drafting unanimously, consensusly, we're going to be drafting Brandon Aiyuk over Debo Samuel in dynasty leagues as early as this season, if not for sure next offseason, which may or may not be a hot take to you right now. And depending on how you view that situation, but it's pretty 50-50 depending on who you talk to. They're like, oh, Aiyuk is easily the wide receiver one or not. Debo is still the wide receiver one. But next year for sure, and I'm in complete agreement that Brandon Aiyuk is going to be the wide receiver one for the San Francisco 49ers. I just think that he plays a role in this offense that is unique and does not have really much overlap with anybody else. So he is in his own defined thing. He is hyper talented. He's fantastic. And his ADP, strangely enough,
in the 70s.
Maybe this is like a DLF thing. I don't know, but his ADP is wide receiver 29 in one quarterback leagues. Yeah, in the mid 50s. So in Superflex, you know, add another round and a half, 2 rounds to that, and he's down there in like the 6th, 7th round. That is low. Wide receiver 29. Whereas, you know, I'm saying that I would take him over Debo. Debo's the wide receiver 18. I would even be okay if you just kind of flip the two of them. And you're talking about Brandon Aiyuk in the same conversation as guys like Michael Pittman, Christian Watson, DJ Moore, Treylon Burks. Like he's behind all of these guys right now in our ADP, but I think he should be at least within that group, if not even ahead of those guys. So if you're able to get Aiyuk at this ADP value and trade value, smash, dude. This is an absolute smash for a guy that could be a solid wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 spike weeks. And it may not be super consistent. Wide receivers really aren't that consistent. So I'm just going to buy into the boom games that Aiyuk is going to give you, and worry about the other stuff later.
Yeah, and we're all clamoring for Brock Purdy to be the quarterback there, and Brock Purdy's the one quarterback we've seen there that has an actual arm to throw the ball more than 6 yards. And once that came in, Ayuk was getting a lot of them targets, 20, 30 yards down the field, and it felt nice to see. So that's all of that, yes. So let's go to the first trade, which is 12 teams, super flex, and it's Chris Godwin and DeAndre Swift for a 24 first and Brandon Ayuk. I want DeAndre Swift to be a thing. I really, really do. In Philly, that's awesome. But I think I'm taking the first in Ayuk pretty easily on this. Like, because I don't think you're getting a first for Swift right now. And Ayuk and Godwin are in that, like, I mean, their ADPs 10 spots apart, and they're in that similar wide receiver 2 glut right there. So give me the first, give me Ayuk. I'm happy to get Ayuk, and the first I could do whatever I want with later.
Yeah, I think this is a textbook example of how you should be going out and trying to buy Brandon Ayuk right now, because even if you really like DeAndre Swift and you think that he's going to have a lot of potential in Philly, if you can just cash out, just get that 24 first, I think that you're going to be equally as happy that you have the first next year as you would possibly DeAndre Swift, and you can just kind of see what plays out. Maybe Swift gets hurt again and his value falls even more, and there's still downside there that he's a player on a that really has like a value precipice right now of like, if he does well in Philly, we're back in. But if he does
Yes.
not do well in Philly this year, boy, it's like the Michael Scott, like fool me twice, strike three kind of thing. um, so yeah, I like the first over Swift, and Ayuk and Godwin are, like you said, they're basically even. If you want a to hit the reset button a little bit, you get a 2-year age difference, get a little bit younger with Ayuk, maybe more upside, better offense, better quarterback, probably. Then you could just mess with that argument any way that you want with Ayuk or Godwin. So I think this is perfect. This is what I want when I'm going out and buying Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, the next one's a little bit more interesting to me. Devontae Adams for Ayuk, a 24 second, and Brian Robinson. Adams coming in at 385.5. Ayuk 228, the second 115, and Robinson 84 for a total of 427.2. It's pretty heavily on the package side, which it feels compiled a little bit because you go 200, 100, less than 100. So it's, I think I still want Adams here. I like the idea of what is happening. Maybe if that second and Robinson were one piece, I'd feel better about it. But the 3-for-1, I just want Adams.
Yeah. I put this in here because I thought it was interesting that the analyzer favored the package side a little bit more over Adams. Although
He's old.
I feel like, yeah, most people would probably just take Adams, but it makes sense because it's a 3-for-1. You got to do an overpay a little bit. But I do like this trade. I like like you said, the idea of it. I don't think the execution was perfect. Oh my God, what'd you just do?
Wailed my knee into my desk.
You all right?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay.
No, play on, man. Play on.
All right. Yeah, I think the idea is great. The execution is not necessarily there. If you, I'm not the biggest Brian Robinson fan. I also agree with you. The 24 second just kind of feels like a trade piece that is nice to include on an analyzer, so it looks better in the deal. If you wanted to add both of those pieces together, like you said, you're looking at around maybe 200 points. You're looking at, Dameon Pierce is right there at like 196. For a running back, you got Aaron Jones also in that range. Rashad White, Cam Akers. I'd feel a lot better if it was all of those guys, because then this is an example of trading down but then gaining years back. You're basically buying youth. This is something that Ryan McDowell talks about all the time.
5 years.
It's a 5-year difference. So you're taking the production hit, because obviously Devontae Adams is going to be fantastic. He's going to be better than Brandon Ayuk. But next year Adams is 31, Ayuk is 26. The following year 32, 27. You can start seeing how the age is going to catch up to Devontae pretty quickly, and it's already catching up to him in terms of dynasty value. So if you're able to catch a player that's descending and swap him out for a player that's ascending and get a quality asset back, like a Cam Akers or an Aaron Jones, something that's going to help you produce or build for the long term, then I think that this is a fantastic example of a trade that you could do that and just go get Brandon Ayuk.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming along. I have no idea how we ended that because I realized I was supposed to be on a call 6 minutes ago, and whoops, Russ has a job. All right, cool.
Remote
Well,
life.
thank you. Maybe I hopefully still have a job. Thank you everyone for checking out the DLF Trades on the DLF YouTube channel. Russ Fisher, Dynasty Addison Hayes at AmazeHayes_. We'll catch you next time.